Following the insecurity challenges happening in Africa, precisely in Nigeria, people are beginning to ask questions like, what are we going to do? Yesterday, I saw a House of Representative member crying on the floor chamber. He was crying not because he was dying, but he was crying because his people are dying. He complained about the Ekiti State monarch that was killed by bandits and the rate at which insecurity is overwhelming them. People might talk about incompetence on the side of the presidents, but I see the incompetence as 30% or 40%. But the major problem I am seeing is the structure problem. We have a structural problem. There is a default that is making us to fail. There is a system that is making us to fail. And that is the kind of democracy and presidency structure we have. That is the kind of constitution we have. And in this video, I'm going to talk about why Tinubu is helpless and why referendum could help. Here with me is Gael Clavis Johnson. He's from South Africa, the author of Afrodemocracy, the New African Order. He wants to talk to us about referendum, why Nigerians should take referendum serious, and why Africans as well should take referendum serious. But referendum on what? What are they going to vote for? So they are going to vote for a regional government where the power will be returned to the people.
Yeah.
Because in a situation where we are having insecurity challenges everywhere, it is very difficult to understand that somebody sitting in Aso Rock in the situation of Nigeria don't know what is happening in your village, where there is no state police, no community policing, and so on and so forth. So, David Johnson, good morning. You are welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us more
Good morning to you.
about why Nigeria needs referendum now.
Well, thank you. Meeting you again on your platform. Okay.
You are welcome.
So,
you're welcome.
This statement, the argument whatsoever we'll be developing here, it's related to the book Afrodemocracy, New African Order. As I keep saying, New African Order is the way to call Africans back to their values, back to the crossroad of their perdition, where the
Pardon? Afro-democracy is a new way to call Africans back to their values.
Yes, back to their values.
Okay, I heard that.
Back to the crossroad of their perdition, where they lost it all, at the crossroad with the settlers, with colonialism. That is where they lost everything, you see. So they stripped our forefathers, the kings, the queens, the traditional rulers, of their powers, of their decision-making powers, to establish a ground that is much favorable to the worst, that is called today the presidency. And if we have to see in the way it was established, it was the colonial administration. So it was led by a white man against us, forcing us through hard labor, all those kind of things we know about. But by the time they withdraw due to fake independence, they put someone there. But if they put someone there, it's not like that person is the founder of the structure. They just change the name from...
Is it the colonial powers that put president there, or the people put the president there?
What can you say? The first person, the first black man who took over from the white man, it was on the basis of what? Here I am, I own a farm, I'm going back to my country, and I want someone to run that farm after me. So what is it? I'm not selling that farm. Someone just to be there when I'm not around. So that person must be reporting to me. And that person must follow the rules that...
Are you trying to say that Nigeria is a farm that belongs to the West, or African countries are like farms that belongs to the West?
So they have to follow the rules that I established as the founder of that farm. It's something like that.
That could be a hot statement.
The African presidents, they know what I'm talking about. They just don't want to admit it. They can make all that kind of noise, all sort of noise during the campaign, is they are running for elections. But the moment they will get there, they know that they will find rules that they did not expect, and they have to follow those rules because the owner of the farm established those rules. So that is his business. You are there to work. If you do the contrary, I will fire you and put someone else. And when we're talking about firing that employee in the farm, it is either by killing him or ousting him through coup and something like that. It's the way of firing the employee that is not following the rules of the farm. So us, we are animals, if I have to say it that way. They've shown that, treating us like animals. But animals are found where? In the farm. So who's leading the animals in the farm?
What you just said remind me.
Today is the president.
Yeah, before you go forward,
yeah,
what you just said remind me about what Goodluck Ebele Jonathan said, the former president of Nigeria, that left office in 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
He said something in his last interview, how Barack Obama make sure that he was removed as president. How Barack Obama sent Secretary of State and if before the election, how Barack Obama made a lot of statements and get the militaries ready. In Ghana, he made a lot of statements and he was talking bitterly about that. Can I link that to what you are saying, that the Western powers are responsible, to putting the president of African countries?
Mr. Okocha, we don't elect. That is what I must always.
What happens to our nation if we don't elect? What happens to our elections?
We don't elect. It's all about the manipulations. They manipulate all these results. There's a database of the electorates where we believe that I'm a registered citizen and a voter, but on the other side, there are true results that are processed. In the back door, they have to make sure that the farm is running smoothly. Their interest, running smoothly. So they cannot just rely on the result that will come from us people voting, fairly. Because if we go on voting fairly, we will elect the best. We will not elect the likes we have today in our countries. We will never do that. We are not.
You mean what we have now is kakistocracy? That is the government of the worst leading the very best.
I keep saying the African country as such is a system, and the person who created that system is the worst. So the system recognizes its creator. So the African country works only in favor of the worst. They established the borders, they put us in different cultures, they knew that we will never get along. Yet they forced us to believe that we are one people.
Okay. How is the system responsible for the insecurity? How is the system responsible for the pains that we are facing today?
Obviously, Mr. Okocha, when you take the context of like Nigeria, Fulani, you were telling me there are people from as I was
because of our porous border. Yes, there are some foreigners who invade our country and they carry out crimes. And because maybe these people have what they call religious brothers here, they will see people that will share them and cover them when they are perpetrating the crimes.
That's the thing. So it takes a group of disfavored people who have no mercy. They know that they have nothing to lose. I'm in a certain country. I have nothing that belongs to me in that country. So whatever it takes for me to survive, I will do that. If I have to go and kill the entire village, I will do that. I have nothing to lose there. I have no roots there. My ancestors are not from that land. So when I come there, if it takes me to kill the whole village, I will do that. You see? So that is the kind of people, the group of people the West rely on. They know that if we give them the order to do anything, they will do that. They have nothing to lose. But if they come to someone who's originally from a certain land, I know that my ancestors lived on this land here. This land belongs to me. Whatsoever in, it's mine. Do I have even time to go and make trouble or whatsoever? I don't have that time, you see. But on the other side as well, Mr. Okocha, if you look at most of African presidents, they are from lands that are not rich in resources. They are from regions that are not so rich in resources. So why is the West selecting those kind of leaders coming from those kind of regions? Because they know that the moment they're elected, they also have nothing to lose. I'm from a poor land, I'm from a poor nation, a poor region. So if I have to invade the rich region within my country, the Republic, I have nothing to lose. I am not from that land. As long as trouble there, we can loot, then I have my share. The West as well will have their share. Their farm is still running smoothly. That's the purpose.
All right. Let's hit this nail to referendum. Now, what is going to happen in a situation where people don't have this full knowledge of referendum? In our previous video, I told you that so many people, when you talk about referendum, they assume that referendum is a crime, that you are trying to commit treason. So how can citizens increase the momentum of demanding for a referendum. Let people choose a constitutional referendum where they will have a new laws that will allow the people to take hold of this power. You know, I told you that there was 1963 a constitution where Nigeria was having head of state, they were having prime minister, Nigeria was having regional government, the people provide their own security, they control their resources, and they just have a center, power at, the federal capital that doesn't have power as much because they have returned power to the people. So that was what we are looking up to, that if Nigerians could demand to return power to the regions where we have community policing, we recognize the values of our traditional leaders, we recognize the values of our own people, not what we are having today. That it will only take referendum, however, to arrive at this spot. How do we intensify this sensitization about referendum?
Well, Mr. Okocha, right now I was speaking about a farm that was established by a certain owner who's not of my black skin, and then he left.
West.
Yeah, and then he left, and then put someone there to look after, to look after everything. Now, he established the rules within that family. He did everything. Can you imagine the very same people who imposed the republic on us, who also impose the constitution on us, because most of those constitutions are not written by us Africans. They are from, they refer to the constitutions of Western countries and then they put it on us. The very same people knew that if Africans can be free to express themselves, they will end up being free as well to have the decision-making power over their own resources. Then they suggested a law that whoever speaks ill about the republic must be, must be condemned for treason. But when you look at this context, between the person who's speaking ill about the republic and the president of the republic, who must be condemned for treason? Because when we look at it too, the president actually is representing the power that was taken away from our leaders. And he promised what? To take care of the people on behalf of those leaders. He is not doing anything as such. The people are killed in certain region, and the traditional leaders of those lands will be complaining like, my people are being killed. Why are you, the president, not doing anything? If the traditional leader will be there saying things like that, it goes from the agreement from the beginning as the republic was established. So the president of the republic is betraying the traditional leaders. So who must be charged for treason? Between the person who's speaking ill about the republic or the president of the republic himself. So the president of the republic is the one to be charged for treason, but they will not charge him. Instead, they will go after the person, a mere activist who's speaking ill about the republic, and then charge him for treason. Who put that law on the ground? It is the same owner of the farm, because he knew that as time will go on, there will be some kind of people who will rise and claim their right back. So to prevent that, there must be this kind of law to put us on the safe side. So that is the context right there. That is the context right there. So for us to go further with this referendum concept, we have to stand on the ground whereby the person who's making sure that the farm is running smoothly must be taken care of by ourselves. So let us take him as an employee of the West. He must now become the employee of the people, of the traditional leaders, that what you are doing for them, do it for us. If you are protected, we will protect you. If you are given money, we will give you money as well, because I told you, like, whatsoever the West is stealing today from our countries, in the name of the republic, in the name of pseudo-democracy, in the name of the constitutional whatsoever, if today we can just take off that republic, that is their landing concrete, that is their source of power in Africa, if we can just take that concrete out, the West will be powerless. And whatsoever they are stealing from our land will not go out anymore, but it will remain in our country. So if today we have a budget of $1 billion, it will be double or even more than that. So the money these politicians are making today can even be more if we change the political system, because there will be no Western country imposing them, okay, go and steal and send it to us, go and get debts whatsoever from those international financial institutions. And when that credit is approved, whatsoever they do with that money in the country, we don't see that. Where is that money going to? It gives the impression that it is the Western country that wants money from maybe the World Bank, but they cannot go and put their own country trapped in that bank. They will use the African country through their man, who is the president of the republic, the fake president of the republic, to go and screw his country they're borrowing money, and the moment they get that credit, they will steal it in the name of corruption and put it in Western banks. So if we understand all that mechanism, we can say that it is that country where the Western bank is located that perhaps needed that money, but they didn't go there themselves. They use their employee, the president of the republic, the so-called president of the republic, to go and put his country in trouble, against the resources of the country, to get some money from the World Bank, and that money to end up in the Western country, serving their banks, serving their economy. So it is the West borrowing in the name of the African country. And that is only possible because they have a president. If it was a council, if it was the regional government, which region will accept to do that? Because if there is one region who will decide to sell his people out, but the rest of the region will not accept that. They will not accept that. So they will be like challenge. To avoid such of a challenge, the West came, stripped the power of decision from our leaders, and created one structure where they can put someone they can easily control. He's black like them, he's doing things like them. If he kills them, he's black on black. If he steals, well, blacks are irresponsible, whatsoever. But behind that, it's the owner of the farm who's still benefiting. So that's the point. We have to go on referendum to stop with all this thing. But we must take care of that employee of the owner of the farm first. That's the
All right. All right. Thank you so much. You have spoken a lot, and it makes sense. However, there is this conference like that was scheduled to be held in Ghana. Yes, where they invited Professor Kendo Lumumba, Julius Malema, our Zimbabwean activist, and Mr. Peter Obi of Nigeria. So even when the conference was cancelled, there was a press conference by these noblemen and women. Now, Peter Obi made a statement that I want to emphasize on, based on what you are saying right now. Peter Obi said something. He said that sometimes we blame the Western, the Western powers of influencing our country and destroying our country. He made a statement that in this year, that Nigeria's budget for students who are over 150 million people is just 5 billion naira. 5 billion is less than $5 million. Now, he said that they budgeted 6 billion for car park from the legislatures. So he was not asking question, is it the colonial masters that made them to budget 5 billion for the whole student and 6 billion for the whole car park? He agreed that there was, mistakes from colonization, but he still insists that the leadership among the people is a big problem. So I am trying to emphasize it because I want to ask you, what about after the referendum, where we have regional government? Are you sure that all these people will not continue to do what they are doing right now?
Well, Mr. Okocha, in the book, I keep saying, Afrodemocracy, New African Order, it is a political book, but in a scientific approach. So when we're talking about scientific, I'm a scientist, you see. So when we talk about scientific, we have hypotheses that conducted me to write statement in such a book. We can condemn ourselves as Black people, but when I stand up and start looking at all these facts, I will go further to say that if today a certain president is suggested a less budget for students in that way, we are talking about a president who has the power of decision. But that president is working where? In the presidency. Who established the presidency is the West. And I keep saying that the presidency is foreign to us. When you get there, you don't do as according to your aspirations. You do as the owner of the farm, exactly saying, wrote his rules on the ground. So when you got there, okay, you're here, welcome, these are the rules. You do it that way. Isn't it the West that doesn't want us Black people to be educated? It is them. They don't want us. They don't like intelligent Black people. So if that is the fact, and here is a president, it's easy to tell him less budget for education, more budget for the military, they're easy to tell him all that. So we'll be blaming the president. The fact that we keep blaming our president, it's where we are failing in our revolutions. Because the moment I feel like all the evil deed is put on my shoulder as the president. I'm also a person. I'll feel rejected. And when I'm rejected, where am I going to turn to? I'm going to turn to the West. The people who put me there. And then that is the most trouble we will ever face in our country, because the moment the president joined the West because he's feeling rejected, then whatsoever you will say, you'll never get it. Because all he knows that if I'm out of here, those people, they will treat me like trash in the street. So from presidency to shame, that will never work. So I don't blame the black president first. You must understand that if he's stealing, there must be a bigger thief above him. If he's a dictator, there must be a greater dictator above him. If he's a human rights violator, there must be a human rights violator of high level above him. Those are the people protecting him and letting him do things the way it is. If today we have a president that is seeming incompetent, it's not on his own. It is because he's following some rules that is making him to stand as a president. There is no such. Now, when we talk about the referendum, going back to regionalism, why is it going to be a successful way? Because we will be departing from the influence of the West. We will be divorcing from them. We will be breaking the link that is making us inferior to follow whatsoever that is written behind the curtain in the presidency. So if we give the power back to the people, if we give the power back to the traditional rulers, who is that traditional ruler as close as they are with the people, sharing the same value, who will not promote the education of his land or the people from his land? Who is that traditional leader who will not care about the health situation of the people of his land? Who is that traditional leader? Or a leader who's from the land where his ancestors lived before him, who will not care about the security of that land? I'm not saying no. The only person who will go against a certain land must be one who's not from that land. And that person, in the context of our country, must be coming from the central government, must be coming from the presidency, because those structures are established not for us, but for the West. That is the farm. The African country is the farm, whose owner is in the West, not us. The presidency is the employee, and us, well, I don't know. Some of us are cows, some of us are goats. I don't know. So we are in there mixed, but we have to refuse that. We have to. That's the issue, and the only way we can do that is to close the presidency. I keep saying, I don't hide it. We must close the presidencies in all African countries and establish a system that will separate the values. That is, for an example, regionalism, as we're talking about here.
All right. When this is not done, and maybe military took over, do you condemn the military coup? Seeing like these three countries that left ECOWAS, they conducted the military coups in their country, they took power. Well, the first point is that the people love them. There is no doubt about that. I have, looked at the background of their leadership. I saw that the people love them. But there is still problem because they have not returned the power to the people.
That's what
they just took it away from democracy. They have not returned it to the people.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have to say? Is it because we did not do the right thing? Not me, not we. They did not do the right thing as democratic elected presidents. Is that why the military took over from them?
Talking about referendum, to answer a question, Mr. Okocha, it is a way, I can say, a pacific way to change things around. Like, we don't want any trouble in the society, trouble in the country. We don't want people killed. So let's go on referendum and then do it peacefully. But we still have this influence behind the person, the pseudo president, the so-called president sitting in the presidency. They can still stand against him, like we said last time. It's easy for us to go for presidential elections, talking about democratic order, while there's no democracy in our country, than to go for referendum. The West will not just allow it at that. So the presidency will make sure that things like that don't happen. Hence, you spoke to me about the activist that was harshly reprimanded whatsoever because he wanted to depart from the central government. It was not all by agreement. They were killed when the power was taken back from them to establish today what we have, the presidency. So if today we have the sign of the soil, we come out and then, organize a coup and take the power from whoever so-called democratic leader, and then decide to turn things around, like upside down, as I said. So why not? It is even the fastest way to change things. But let that coup not take us back to democracy, but to Afrodemocracy, or this kind of regionalism, the kind of federalism, whereby we will return power back to the people, back to our traditional leaders, and stop with all this structure of the presidency or the constitution of the republic whatsoever. We are not finding ourselves through the republic and through the democracy whatsoever they're telling us about. If the republic was the way of our greatness, so why is the United Kingdom not a republic today, but they made Nigeria the republic? Why? We have to ask ourselves questions. The republic is a conspiracy to bring us down. There's no way up to the republic. There's no way out to the presidency. So when I look at political leaders, we keep asking for orders. We keep asking for a responsible role from the presidency. When I look at all that, giving speeches to the public.
This is a great statement, Clavis, that we are going to talk as a video on a separate topic. You said that United Kingdom is not a republic. Why would they make their colonies republic?
That's the question.
It's a very good question that we are going to talk in a video. But you have spoken a lot today, and I think the viewers will have time to digest everything you have said. Well, before we go on to end the broadcast, for some persons who asked about how do we get the book, I told some that your book is on Google, on Amazon, that they can have it there. Can you speak more about how they can access the book?
Well, the book, my name, Gael Clavis Johnson. The title of the book is Afrodemocracy, New African Order. It's almost the only book right now talking about Afrodemocracy in the world, because when I write my books as a scientist, I make sure that I'm writing about what politicians are afraid to talk about. I cannot write the same thing over and over. They've become famous in the name of politics, but they are not resolving African issues. So what's the point? What's the point right now? If you are a scientist, you have to bring solutions to our problems. So the book, it's simple. Black in cover. When you go on the internet, you just put Afrodemocracy in one word. The only book that will come out, it's my book, New African Order. So it's all over there. It is in the British National Library. It is there. It is in the greatest Anglophone library in Paris. It is in New York, in the libraries. It is on Amazon. So it's everywhere. It's everywhere. So the book is being viewed as one of the reference for academic studies. So it has been published not by regular publishers, but by a science publishing company, where they publish academic documents, books. So it is viewed as a reference for academic studies. So it is for us Black people. Those are the kind of books that white people will never write. They will never. And if I wrote it, it's because I have a black skin. That's the issue right there. So we want Africa free. So when I'm writing it, whoever will fall, let him fall. Whoever will stand up, let him stand. As long as the African man is going to be free. So that is the book. And if I have to go further, I started with this Afrodemocracy project in 2019. In 2020, during COVID, I published it for the first time. I published for the first time in France, and that book was sabotaged in France. The book was sabotaged. The book was sold. They didn't give me my money until today. The book, France stopped selling that book. So what I did, no problem. I went to New York, and then I got a contract there. Then finally, the book was published in New York. And today, as we're saying, the book is back to France again. So how are they going to kick it out of the market? Because it came all the way from Americans from New York. So that is where, you have to understand what is the importance of the book. It is for us Black people. It's for us Africans. So the book is there on the internet. Just one word, Afrodemocracy, New African Order. Then you will see the book. It's the only book on Afrodemocracy on the internet.
That is great. And I hope they do get it to read. Thank you so much, Clavis Gael Johnson.